Well, welcome. Today we are in a conservation lab looking at one of the most controversial and mysterious pieces of the Roms collection. The point about this particular figure, and the reason that she's demanding some investigation at the moment, is that throughout her long history in the museum, she came in the 1930s, she was acquired in 1931, she hasn't really been studied in any great detail, and her reputation for being a genuine Bronze Age Minoan antiquity or being an early 20th century fake has fluctuated throughout her life. If it was real, this comes from Crete, where the Minoan civilization flourished. So we've got some genuine figurines excavated in controlled excavations. We know where they came from. She has no provenance. She appeared on the art market in the 1930s. She was bought by an English dealer and then sold to the museum in the 1930s. And there are several other examples, both in ivory and stone, of small figurines, either male or female, that appeared about that time and have also got no excavation spot and no good provenance, and so have also been thought to be fakes. If she's genuine, she is also unique. Her costume, which is this gold sheet costume that you can see, is not recorded elsewhere in Minoan art. But there are some similar costumes, and this is what it seems to be based on, where acrobats are wearing this sort of apron codpiece. Here I have a representation of a fresco that comes from the Palace of Knossos on Crete, so a Bronze Age wall painting. And what you can see is some acrobats, two different colours of acrobats, jumping over a bull. They're actually, both the women and men are wearing this sort of belt and loincloth codpiece combination, which is the same sort of thing as we've got going on here. But this piece, our goddess, has not just the codpiece that you're seeing worn by the acrobats, but also this corset piece. The corset with exposed breasts is usually coupled with a very flounced long skirt, and that is the typical costume of a Minoan woman. So to have the two combined is unique and quite suspicious. So you can see she's a female, and she's made of ivory with clothing added on in gold, sheet gold. And the clothing has actually been sort of decorated with impressions quite finely and secured to the body using little gold nails. She's made in 3 pieces, basically. So her body is one, but her 2 arms come off like this. Can't get it off. There we go.
Yes.
So she's been made in 3 pieces. What you see here is the original arm, but with a modern perspex dowel attached. And this is the original hole for the attachment, but with a modern insert.
Yeah.
While on this side, as you can see, all we've got left of the original is the hand, and so she's had a little wooden arm made up to hold the hand. But what's really interesting is that the dowel at the other end of this wooden arm is square in cross-section because it's designed to fit into the socket hole on the other side of the goddess. As we can see, this original socket hole, which doesn't have the modern lining, is actually square.
Ivory is extremely sensitive to temperature and humidity changes because it's a mixture of the apatite, which is a calcium phosphate, and at the same time it's intertwined, it's sort of intermingled with varying amounts of protein material, which is what makes elephant tusks flexible, so that they can actually lever up tree trunks and things like that. Of course, the minute the elephant dies, the protein begins to go and it gets a little bit more sensitive with time, so that unless you keep it in a very, very stable environment, it cracks up. And this is totally natural, totally within the pattern of ivory's cracking up that we've seen throughout all sorts of museums.
How can we tell that she's an elephant ivory as opposed to, I mean, I know at this period in the Mediterranean they're using hippopotamus ivory at the same time.
On this hand here, I don't know if you can see it,
Yes.
there are the Schrager lines. Now, that's where they are, and there is no other ivory that has this, and it is almost impossible to get rid of it.
Right.
Even if you lose your entire protein component, the pattern of it is still in the thing. And so we've got some downstairs, we've got mammoth ivories, which haven't got a vestige of protein left, but the Schrager pattern is still there. Wherever she was cross-sectioned, that's where you see it. The ends here are burnt, and normally what you get with the black, because of the heat, you're not looking at actually burnt ivory, you're looking at a soot deposition which gives you a nice glossy black surface. But here, if you look at the cross-section of her poor little legs, you can see she's actually burnt right through. You've got the same kind of damage to the hand. You can see it's burnt all the way through, and there's a complete loss there.
We decided that for the first time ever we'd actually try and just x-ray the figurine to see what was inside. The different density of material is allowing the x-rays to pass through in different ways. And so what you can see here is the ivory showing up in grey. The wooden arm, interestingly, has not shown up at all because it's not as dense as ivory. And all of this white is metal. Obviously, we've got her gold clothing appearing and her gold diadem. But we also have these little flecks of white on her leg and on her on her hair, which are probably lead white, added during a restoration process just to make it look prettier, hold it together. And this is where we come to some of our very few bits of evidence about what she looked like when she came into the museum. We've got a few old photographs. The salesman who sold her to the museum said that this was as she looked very soon after she had been found. And what they've got is a lot of leg fragments that they basically just sort of quite crudely lumped together with some plaster. So you can see that she's looking a little bit different. By the time she came into the museum, she was looking like this. She'd been re-restored and given a little mount, and that little mount consisted of 2 iron pins stuck up metal-clad holes. And she'd had her legs tidied up and fragments been put back. What we hadn't realised was actually how far the metal rods extended up her leg. And basically what that's telling us is that her leg has probably been reconstructed around the metal rod inside.
Yeah, I think
so it's given
definitely
something to stick to.
Yes.
The only solid part of her when she was discovered was to about there, and this is more fragments, presumably of her, because of the way that the patterning is going. One of the things we really want to see is what's underneath the clothing, whether that's actually cosmetic and disguising her cracks. And obviously on this x-ray we can't see that. So right now what we're hoping to do is remove some of her clothing, or peek beneath some of her clothing, to try and get a better idea about what's happening underneath.
Okay, what I'm going to try and do is remove this lower part of the bodice here, which is attached with 3 nails, which have been loosened but not dragged out yet, so we'll hope for the best. This one has always been very loose and not always in properly, so that's just come out. And this central one here, which again is a very odd thing to find in a bodice, but so she will go right there. So we can always tell which nail came to where if we later find out which ones are modern nails or if there's anything dubious. Oops, dear. This whole thing is stuck there. So that one is going into there. And now it's loosened that piece, so we've got the bodice, and you can see the wax there, which is actually part of the wax that was used to treat her. There's a great big wodge of it there, which will subsequently have to go. And this you can see now a little bit more clearly. I'll just move her belt, which is attached. You can see now the carving here, which echoes this belt But here we do not have any carving simulating this. And as far as we can tell, there are no joins here at all. Under the dirt, I don't know if I would say that I could see it visually, but now that we've got the X-ray, we know that it's all one piece.